What's up YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 193. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Ben Nguyen versus Ryan Benoit, and these guys are two strikers, but Ben Nguyen has been knocked out. All of his losses are KO losses, as where Ryan Benoit, all of his losses are, I think, decision losses. And Ryan Benoit in his last fight knocked out Sergio Pettis. Ben Nguyen, they're both strikers, but I'm going to go with the guy who's never been knocked out, which is Ryan Benoit, just because, if you're a striker and all your losses are knockout losses, it's hard to have faith in that guy. So I got Ryan Benoit by first round knockout. Next is Dan Kelly versus Steve Montageri. And Steve Montageri is one of those guys. He's pretty decent everywhere, but he's not great anywhere. I think Dan Kelly will be able to win with his judo. I think he'll be able to get it to the ground and probably get a submission, probably late first, early second. Next is Richard Walsh versus Steve Kennedy. And to me, Richard Walsh is a lot better than his record would show. I think he's a great kickboxer with really solid takedown defense. Steve Kennedy's well-rounded, but just like Steve Montageri, he's not great anywhere. I'll pick Richard Walsh. I say he wins by first or second round TKO. I just think Steve's not going to be able to stand with him, and he won't be able to take him down, and then he's probably just going to get overwhelmed as soon as he realizes he's not going to be able to do much to this guy. Next is Anton Zafir versus James Muntasiri. And I'm going to pick Anton Zafir. I know he only took this fight in a couple days' notice, but he looks like a really solid prospect from Australia. And James Muntasiri has shown that, his ground game is not very strong. If you're able to take this guy to the ground pretty consistently, you could probably beat him. So I'm going to pick Anton. I say he'll probably win by rear naked choke. Just with the better grappling, I think he's got pretty solid jiu-jitsu. Next is Richie Valak versus Danny Martinez. And I said this before, Danny Martinez, he's pretty entertaining, but he's not UFC level. He's lost his last 4 fights in the UFC. They've been fight of the night quality fights, but, he basically just has that Diego Sanchez style where he'll just wing punches, and that's about it. I think Richie Valak has really good counterpunching and really good movement. We saw that in the fight against Louis Slamoke, and I think that's, Richie was looking great in that fight against Louis. I thought that fight was really back and forth. I thought he was slightly ahead until Louis caught him with the side kick. So I'm going to pick Richie Valak. I think he'll just use good movement and good counterpunching to win by decision. Next is Anthony Perosh versus Gil Vellante, and Gil Vellante will probably win this fight by first round knockout. I mean, Anthony Perosh is starting to look his age. But I'm gonna have hope. I think Anthony Perosh has still got one more solid fight in him. I think Anthony Perosh will get this fight to the ground, and when he does, he'll probably win by submission. So I'm gonna say first round rear naked choke for Anthony Perosh. Next is Kyle Noke versus Peter Sobotta. And Kyle Noke has been looking slower and slower in his last couple fights, and Peter Sobotta's looked pretty decent in his last 2 UFC fights. I'm going to pick Noke just because I think he's the better striker, and I think on the ground he'll at least be able to stay even with Peter Sobotta. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Peter submits him or just controls him the whole fight, but just like with Perosh, I'm going to have hope that Noke will be able to just, keep solid movement and keep it standing and probably edge out a decision. Next is Jake Matthews versus Akbar Arreola, and I feel like they're just trying to give Jake Matthews a win. They want him back in the win column. I think Jake Matthews is a really solid prospect. I think in his last fight he just got caught in a really, really tight guillotine. I think he did all the right stuff to try to get out. It was just too damn tight for him to escape. But I think Jake Matthews is still a really bright prospect. I think that loss is just one of those things where he'll just get better from it, and I think we'll see that in this fight. I think he'll probably win by knockout. Akbar Arreola doesn't have a great chin. He's been knocked out a whole bunch, and I think Jake Matthews has really good striking, so I'm going to pick Jake Matthews by first round KO. Next is Jared Rosholt versus Stefan Struve. And to me, in every aspect of this fight, I just feel like Stefan Struve is better. His striking's better, his jiu-jitsu game is better, and his wrestling's not as good as Jared Rosholt's is, but he has really good takedown defense. I think that he'll get the finish probably late. I mean, Jared Rosholt tends to gas and slow down. So I think Stefan Struve will get the third round TKO finish probably. Next is Robert Whitaker versus Uriah Hall, and to me, Uriah Hall, in his last fight, he landed that crazy shit and won by knockout, but that first round he's getting dominated, and I still don't feel like he's top 15. He's not, his grappling isn't there, and even though he's got great striking, it's not consistent. He's just very tricky with his striking, which is why he was able to land that crazy shit and get the knockout. But that first round, he's getting his ass whooped. You know, it was pretty one-sided for Gegard. And I think Robert Whitaker's striking style is more consistent. His boxing style, I think Robert Whitaker might even knock him out because, you know, Uriah Hall is not the greatest striker. I mean, he's been knocked out before. Chris Weidman knocked him out. And in my opinion, Robert Whitaker's striking style is a lot like Chris Weidman's. He's kind of slow, and then when he goes to punch, he's a lot quicker than he appears to be. And I think that's what's going to happen is Uriah Hall will look a lot faster, but then when Robert Whitaker's ready to uncork his shots at him, he's going to clock him and knock him out. So and not only that, but I feel like if Robert Whitaker gets this fight to the ground, he's got a huge advantage grappling-wise. So I just feel like Robert Whitaker's a more well-rounded guy, and he'll probably get the finish, probably the second round. Next is Mark Hunt versus Bigfoot Silva, and to me, Mark Hunt, you know, even though he's lost a couple, he still looked decent, and the guys he was losing to were real top 5 guys. Antonio Bigfoot Silva, you know, he lost 4 straight and was getting knocked out really easily. I feel like Mark Hunt still has his chin. He was just getting overwhelmed by the better competition, as where Antonio Bigfoot Silva is just getting his ass kicked by, you know, any guy who can throw solid strikes. You know, Bigfoot beat Soa Palele, but he was getting his ass kicked in that first round. He just came out in the second and threw a big barrage of punches and was able to knock him out. But to me, Bigfoot Silva looks like he's pretty much almost at the end of his career. And Mark Hunt, you know, I don't think he's got forever longer either, but I think he's definitely still got more time than Bigfoot does. I think Mark Hunt will eventually land a big shot and just knock him out with one punch, because Bigfoot Silva's been getting knocked out with one punch the last couple fights. Next is Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Valerie Lotrinino. And Lotrinino's a good striker, but all of her losses are to better strikers. And that's what I think is going to happen this fight, is she's going to lose to the better striker. I mean, she's got losses to Alex Davis and Sarah Kaufman, who are pretty much, you know, Alex Davis is pretty well-rounded, but primarily she likes to box, and Kaufman likes to kickbox. And, you know, same thing with Joanna, she likes to kickbox. So I just feel like this is a good striker going up against a great striker. And I think neither of these guys have great takedown offense. They just have really solid takedown defense. So this is going to be a kickboxing match the whole fight. And I think Joanna Jędrzejczyk will probably get a late 4th round TKO finish. Next is Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. And I said this before, I don't like Ronda. She's probably going to win this fight, but I'm just not going to pick her just because I think she's boring as hell. And I'm not one of those people that think she's great for the sport. I think that when you have a champion this dominant, it becomes more and more boring to watch these fights. So I'm going to pick Holly Holm to win by knockout. She won't. She's going to lose, but I'm still going to pick Holly Holm to win by knockout. That'd be awesome if you know, it's one of those, it's like Mayweather versus Pacquiao. If Pacquiao had won that fight, that would have been the best thing in the world for boxing, you know what I mean? But when you get a guy like Mayweather, it's just like watching boring shit, and it just feels like nothing happens over and over again. So I'm going to pick Holm. She's probably not going to win, but I'm still going to hope. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.